My name is Kevin. I spent 3 years working behind the counter of Fix It Fast, a chain of phone repair stores that promised quick, affordable solutions for your precious devices. From cracked screens to dead batteries, we claimed to be the ultimate fix. From the outside, we looked legitimate. Cleaned uniforms, brightly lit stores. Slogans about trust and reliability plastered everywhere. But the reality behind those shiny glass doors was far from what it seemed. Working at Fix It Fast wasn't just about mending gadgets. It was about navigating a murky world of deliberate shortcuts, outright deception, and the constant pressure to squeeze every last penny out of unsuspecting customers. Looking back, it feels like I wasn't just fixing phones. I was complicit in breaking trust, piece by horrifying piece. I started as a hopeful 19-year-old, genuinely eager to learn and help people. The initial training covered basic screen replacements, battery swaps, and software resets. All seemed above board. But then came the first unsettling instruction, delivered by Mike, our cynical, profit-driven manager. Kevin, he'd explain, we've got refurbished parts. They're as good as new, genuine components salvaged and tested. But as I handled them, I noticed clear inconsistencies. Batteries with slightly bulging casings, screens with tiny, almost imperceptible scratches hidden under protective films, charging ports that felt loose or wobbly. When I voiced my concerns, Mike just shrugged. Look, Kevin, we gotta hit our numbers. Refurbs are dirt cheap. Profit margins are through the roof. Nobody's gonna know the difference. Just slap him in and get the customer out the door happy with the quick fix. But what if they fail faster? I pushed. Mike just grinned, a chilling lack of concern in his eyes. Then they come back, don't they? And we charge him again. It's the cycle of business, kid. That chilling logic began to chip away at my idealism. The pressure to meet quotas was relentless. We were constantly pushed to upsell unnecessary services, to convince customers their perfectly fine batteries needed replacing, or their minor software glitches demanded a premium diagnostic package they didn't actually need. It quickly became clear, this wasn't about proper repair, it was about maximizing the bill. The true dark underbelly lay in the parts. Those refurbs weren't always just salvaged genuine components. Sometimes, they were blatant fakes, cheap, inferior knockoffs bought in bulk from shady suppliers. They looked similar enough to pass a quick glance, but were prone to early failure or could even damage the device further. We were explicitly instructed to use them, especially on older customers or anyone who seemed less tech-savvy. The twisted justification? They just need it working for a little while. They don't care about quality. Then came the swapping. This was the most insidious practice, whispered about in hushed tones in the back room. Mike only introduced me to it after he deemed me ready. If a customer brought in a relatively new, high-end phone with a minor issue, like a cracked screen, and another customer had an older, heavily damaged phone of the same model with a perfectly good, original internal component, like a healthy battery or even a high-quality camera, Mike would instruct us to silently remove the good, original part from the new phone and install it into the older, broken one. In return, the slightly faulty or even refurbished part from the older phone would be put into the newer, high-end device. The customer with the new phone would get their screen fixed, completely unaware that a crucial, expensive internal component had been downgraded. The original, working part from their phone would then be sold separately for a huge profit. Mike would often smirk, they'll never know. And it keeps our parts costs down. It felt like a brazen theft. A profound betrayal of the trust placed in us. We were actively stealing from people who had no idea they were being robbed blind. But the most disturbing part wasn't just the parts. It was the access. People handed us their entire digital lives without a second thought. Photos, private messages, banking apps, social media logins. Everything was unlocked, exposed, vulnerable. While there were supposed policies against snooping, they were rarely enforced. The temptation for some text was constant. I witnessed it, not just accidental glimpses. I saw colleagues deliberately scrolling through private photo galleries, reading intimate chats, even copying data onto their personal devices just in case a customer forgot their backup. It made my stomach churn. These weren't just broken devices. They were extensions of people's most private selves, and we were treating them with a casual, predatory disregard that was chilling. The real unease set in when phones were left overnight. They sat there, hundreds of them, on shelves in the dimly lit back room. each one a silent vault of secrets. And every time I walked through that room after hours, I couldn't shake the feeling that these phones, stripped bare, their data exposed, were silently screaming their owners' private lives into the empty space. It was the crushing weight of compromised trust, the lingering residue of countless betrayals, that truly made that backroom feel haunted by the unseen lies. This swapping of parts became routine. Mike, our manager, had a system. He kept a precise inventory of genuine, functional parts salvaged from older, unsalvageable phones, screens with minor cracks, batteries that still held a decent charge, working cameras from devices with shattered logic boards. These were gold. When a new, high-end phone came in with a minor issue, say, a cracked screen, the first thing Mike would do was check its internal components. If the original battery was pristine, the camera module flawless, he'd mark it. Kevin, he'd say, without looking up, new iPhone 15. Cracked screen. Give me the battery from that old iPhone 12, the one with the dead motherboard. I'd know what that meant. I'd carefully extract the perfectly good battery from the iPhone 15. Replace it with the older, slightly degraded one from the defunct iPhone 12. Then swap the cracked screen on the 15 for a new, cheap aftermarket display. The customer would pay for a new screen, happily walk out, never knowing their expensive new phone now carried a 2-year-old battery. And that pristine iPhone 15 battery? It would go into Mike's special inventory, ready to be sold at a premium as a genuine used part. This practice was so common it felt like the shop's true business model. But the sheer audacity of the deception escalated. One particularly busy Saturday, a customer brought in a brand new, top-of-the-line Android phone, less than a month old. It had a charging issue, wouldn't connect properly. Mike took a quick look. Classic port issue, he declared, nodding. We can fix it in an hour. $150. The customer agreed, desperate. Mike then pulled me aside. This one's a gold mine. The charging port is fine. Barely bent. It's just a bit of lint jammed in there. But the screen, it's a genuine OLED, perfect. We have an old one with a cracked screen, same model, but its display is fine. You know what to do. My stomach dropped. He wanted me to swap the screens. Replace a perfectly good, genuine OLED screen with one salvage from a previously cracked phone, just because it was functional. This wasn't about repair. It was about stealing a perfectly good component from a near-new phone. Mike, that's too far, I whispered, glancing nervously at the waiting customers. He leaned in, his voice a low growl. Too far? This is business, Kevin. We're cutting losses, maximizing profit. You think these customers care about how we fix it, as long as it turns on? Do it. Or find another job. We're busy. The threat was clear. I swallowed, my hands clammy. I knew I couldn't do it. But I also knew I needed this job. My rent was due next week. My family relied on my income. The words "do it" or "find another job" echoed in my head, a terrifying ultimatum. With shaking hands, I went to the back. The customer's new phone, a beautiful device, sat on my workbench. Next to it, the old, cracked one. I meticulously performed the swap. My fingers felt numb, detached from my will. The new phone's genuine. Vibrant OLED screen was carefully removed and placed into the shell of the old, defunct device. The old, perfectly functional but slightly worn screen from the broken phone was then installed into the customer's near-new one. It fit perfectly, seamlessly. No one would ever know, except me, and Mike, and the cold, silent judgment that now felt permanently etched into my conscience. Every time I touched a customer's phone after that, I felt a wave of nausea. I started to see every device not as a piece of technology, but as a potential victim, its internal components waiting to be plundered. The customers would come back, sometimes weeks later, sometimes months, complaining about battery drain, camera issues, or screens that inexplicably developed dead pixels. Mike would just feign concern, offering another diagnostic or a discounted repair, charging them again for problems we ourselves had created. It was a vicious cycle of deception, a spiderweb of lies. And I was caught right in the middle of it. The real horror wasn't just the parts we swapped or the money we scammed. It was the absolute violation of trust. People handed us their lives, their photos of loved ones, their private conversations, their bank details, their entire digital existence. We had access to everything, often left unlocked for our convenience. And Mike, along with a few other senior techs, exploited this. I once overheard Mike bragging about finding some gold on a customer's phone, referring to private, intimate photos that he had apparently copied for his own collection. Another time, I saw him jotting down a password he found on a note in a customer's old phone. It made my skin crawl. The phones weren't just machines, they were extensions of people's souls. And we were stripping them bare, not just of their hardware, but of their dignity and privacy. The constant exposure to these unethical practices began to warp my own sense of right and wrong. I was doing these things. I was participating. The guilt became a heavy, physical weight. I started having trouble sleeping, plagued by images of angry customers, of the original pristine parts lying discarded or resold, of the blank stares of the phones on the shelf, silently judging. It was as if every phone I had wronged was now a ghost in the machine. Their silent accusations echoing in my mind, a chilling reminder of the lies I helped them hide. I knew I couldn't stay. My soul was rotting faster than any refurbished battery. The money wasn't worth the cost of my conscience. But walking away meant walking into the unknown, with the heavy burden of all the secrets I now carried. The weight of my complicity grew heavier with each passing day. Every time I installed a fake screen, swapped a good battery for a worn-out one, or saw Mike leering at someone's private photos, a cold dread coiled in my stomach. The ghosts in those machines weren't just data echoes. They were the silent screams of betrayed trust, the spectral whispers of countless private lives violated. The shop, once a brightly lit space of problem-solving, had transformed into a cage, trapping me in its web of deceit. One afternoon, a young woman came in, almost in tears. Her phone, an older model, had stopped charging. She explained it was full of irreplaceable photos of her grandmother, who had just passed away. "Please," she pleaded, "I just need the photos. I don't care about the phone, just the photos." Mike took the phone. "Standard charging port repair, ma'am. We'll get it working." He gave her the usual spiel about diagnostic fees. As she walked away, he smirked. "This one's easy cash. Just a clogged port. 10 minutes. But as he opened the phone, his eyes narrowed. This battery's still decent. Not original, but a good copy. And the camera, surprisingly sharp for this model." He looked at me, a predatory glint in his eye. "Kevin, get me that dead display iPhone 8. This battery and camera are coming out." My blood ran cold. This wasn't about repair. This was about stripping a grieving customer's phone for parts, potentially jeopardizing her irreplaceable memories. The thought of stealing components from a device holding the last images of her grandmother, it broke something inside me. The casual cruelty of it all, the complete disregard for human feeling, was monstrous. "No," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I won't do it." Mike stared at me, his smirk vanishing. "What did you say?" I said no. I repeated louder this time. "I'm not doing it. I'm not swapping parts from her phone. Not this one. Not ever again." His face darkened, a vein throbbing in his temple. "You think you're better than us, huh? You're just a kid. You think you can just walk away from this after everything you've seen, everything you've done?" He gestured wildly around the shop, implicating me in every single lie, every single scam. "You're just as deep in this as I am." He was right. I was. The guilt, the complicity, the constant turning of a blind eye, it had been eating at me. But seeing the raw pain in that young woman's eyes had been a harsh, undeniable mirror. I couldn't be this person anymore. "Maybe," I said, looking him dead in the eye. "But I can stop now." I walked straight to my locker, grabbed my small backpack, and didn't even bother taking off my fix-it-fast uniform. It felt like a costume of shame. "You walk out that door, Kevin. You'll regret it." Mike yelled after me, his voice echoing in the brightly lit, seemingly pristine shop. "You'll never get another job in this town." I just kept walking. Out past the display cases of shiny, new phones, past the customers patiently waiting for their quick fixes, past the deceptive slogans, and out into the street. The air outside felt clean, sharp. Like a deep, painful breath of fresh air after years of suffocating in a toxic cloud. I left my uniform in a garbage bin a block away, shedding the last physical connection to that place. It's been 2 years since I left Fix It Fast. I now work in IT support for a reputable company, dealing with software, not hardware, and with strict ethical guidelines. But the lessons, the images, the sheer disgust of what I witnessed, they still haunt me. Every time I see someone hand over their phone, trusting a stranger, I feel that familiar cold knot in my stomach. The ghosts of those misused, violated devices and the desperate faces of the customers who trusted us still linger in my mind. My experience in the phone repair industry revealed a chilling reality. When you hand over your device, you're not just handing over a piece of hardware. You're handing over your entire digital life. Trust is fragile, and in some repair shops, it's intentionally exploited for profit. So, how can you protect yourself? Always back up your phone completely before taking it to any repair shop. Note down your device's serial numbers and specific component IDs if you can. If possible, remove sensitive data. Never leave your phone overnight unless absolutely necessary. And only at a highly reputable, well-reviewed shop. Ask for a detailed repair report and insist on getting replaced parts back. If the price seems too good to be true, or if a repair feels rushed or opaque, trust your instincts. Because the real dangers in the digital world aren't always viruses. Sometimes, they're the hands that claim to fix your device, while secretly violating your trust and your privacy. Thank you for listening to this raw confession from the dark underbelly. If Kevin's story made you look at your phone a little differently, remember to like this video, share this crucial warning with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another stark revelation. We'll continue to expose the hidden dangers in every profession. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, not every broken thing can be truly fixed when greed takes over.